I bet that's Tim right there. Good morning, wake-up call.
Good morning.
Hey, how's it going, Tim?
There he is.
Oh, I'm hanging in there.
Well, man, give us the lowdown here. We just
Well,
we were just discussing this, and I was wondering.
Refresh my memory. We talked about a week and a half ago, and I think I predicted that we didn't have the votes to do what everybody wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Well, we still don't have the votes. So, you know, I think here's the deal. I think if we would have all, I think what we've seen here is that no matter what you do, it all comes down to votes. And if the Republicans do not control the Senate and do not control the White House, there's only so much under our Constitution you can do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple. And look, no one wants to repeal this law more than Tim Griffin. I voted 41 times to change it, do something to it. But to think that you were going to win that argument by just hold firm. Okay. Then what? Then what's the plan? Create vote. I mean, look what Ted Cruz did. He gave a speech, but nothing else. I mean, he didn't have the votes in the Senate. So here's what happened from the inside. Does this kick the can down the road? Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does. But what was the alternative last night?
Well, how about this? How about the alternative of standing firm, and then yes, we go past the deadline for the debt limit, and what's going to happen after that? Are we going to default? We wouldn't default.
You may not technically default, but you are sending a signal to the world that is extremely damaging to the markets and to the economy. And if you don't believe that, then that's fine. We can just disagree. We can disagree. But if you read 90%, there's 10% that say just roll the dice and see what happens. If you read 90% of people who study this, Republican and Democrat, they will tell you that rolling the dice with the debt limit is not a good thing to do. In fact, some would tell you that it is potentially catastrophic. And I'm talking about conservative Republicans and everybody else. So, look, what I would say is if you want to roll the dice to the debt limit, with the debt limit, run for office, get elected to the 2nd District, and try to do that. But here's the other thing. If you're the only one or one of 10 that wants to do that, you don't have the votes, even if you thought it was great. Because here's the deal. You may feel that way, but you're not going to get 218 Republicans in the United States House of Representatives to follow you down that path. It ain't going to happen. Why? Because many agree with me, but a lot of them are from districts where people don't think like you think.
So
if you don't have those people that don't think like you think, you may not agree with them. You may call them rhinos. But you know what they are? They're majority makers. If you do not have the Republicans that we have from Pennsylvania, Washington State, and all these other places that aren't as conservative as my district, if we don't have them, we're in the minority permanently. So you got to choose. Do you want to make a stand or do you want to make a difference? Do you want to pick a fight or do you want to win? And that's just a fact. And I cannot, it shocks me the number of people who say they have a plan. They got no plan. I'm in the meetings. Unless I was mistaken, none of the other people who tell me they got a plan were in the meetings. It's all about counting votes. if you get 218 is a majority of 435, which is the House. If you cannot find 218 people in the Republican conference out of 233 to vote for what you want, you will fail.
So
it's that simple.
So basically, we're looking ahead to 2016 and flip it, right? I mean,
elections are the core driver of democracy. If you cannot win elections, you are powerless.
Well, then why?
Got to win elections.
Well, then why did we go through this the last 2 or 3 weeks? Is it just because of Ted Cruz?
Good question. Good question. That's what a lot of us have said. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. I don't know how much time you got, but this is in a nutshell what happened. So the speaker, so we passed at the end. Obamacare was coming fast, and at the end of July or mid-July, early July, the president said, "I'm going to delay the employer mandate." So what we said is, with my bill, I think I remember HR 2667. My bill was going to delay the individual mandate. Very reasonable. We passed that in the House. It went nowhere in the Senate. Actually, mine was to make the employer mandate delay legal, and HR 2668, my buddies, was individual. So here's what happened. So we're about to go back to work in our districts over August, where tons of discussions are held. And there were some people and some people that met in a room in the Capitol who said, yeah, there's all these delay stuff going on, but we're gonna make a push to defund Obamacare. And one of my friends was in that meeting, member of Congress, and he goes, "Well, that's impossible without how are you gonna do that?" Anyway, well, they were like, "We're gonna do it." So my buddy actually went and told the speaker. He said, "Hey, I just came from a meeting. This was their strategy. They're totally ditching to fight for a delay to convince people," which was a long shot. They weren't going to do that in the Senate. And he said, "Oh, wow, okay, well, we'll have to deal with it at some point." So nothing was really done. So everybody goes home to August, and that's when all the groups, Ted Cruz, the groups, Jim DeMint, I've known Jim for a while. His daughter used to work for me. I've known Ted Cruz since 2000. They all said defund, defund, defund. And they went around the country doing all these events, getting emails, raising money. So we came back from break and district work period, and Boehner said, "Okay, we got the debt, we got the spending issue coming up. Here's the Boehner plan." And it wasn't much. It wasn't. You didn't get much in the Boehner plan. Why? Because the Boehner plan would have actually passed potentially in the Senate. You didn't get much. But he recognized that on the spending, on the CR deal, as opposed to the debt ceiling, we needed to get the spending thing behind us and see what we could get on the debt limit, because he didn't want to shut down the government. Well, here's what happened. Tons of people. I said, yeah, I'll probably be a yeah on that, Mr. Speaker, because we whipped that. I'm on the whip team. So I said, yeah, I'll probably be a yeah on that. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's not good, but it's the best thing we got. Well, a lot of people, probably 50, said, no, this has got to defund the whole of Obamacare, and we got to ride it to the end. Well, a lot of us said, okay, look, because we're a week or we're 2 weeks, whatever, before the shutdown could have possibly occurred. A lot of us said, okay, if we want to see what we can get with that, see what that will lead to, okay, let's try it. I knew where it was going to end up. The question is, how long would it be pushed before people realized that it wasn't going to work, right? So the speaker, under a lot of pressure from those 50 or 30 people, did that. He said, all right, but why? Because he couldn't get 218 for his plan. So he was forced to do this plan, and everybody's like, okay, Mr. Speaker, you're calling the play. We're going to try this. Well, as we start getting close to the day when the government was going to run out of funding and we didn't have agreement, I was saying, Mr. Speaker, and to others, just say enough's enough, and don't keep going down this route. Don't keep going. But we didn't have the votes because those people were demanding that we stay on this route. Again, the only way you get the votes with this stuff is what? If you go get Democrats. Why? Because if you can't get to 218 on your own, then you got to go to Steny Hoyer and Pelosi and go, look, we can't get the votes among Republicans, so we got to get some of your votes. We didn't want to do that, but I said, look, if the alternative is just shutting everything down, not reaching agreement, we need to find some kind of way, even if it's short term, to get it going. Well, the Speaker did what the Speaker did. He said, all right, you guys want this fight? This is what you want. You want to stand firm, as you say, on this right here? Okay, let me tell you what's going to happen. Let me tell you what's going to happen when we do it. Oh, no, they'll cave. They'll cave. Okay, here we go. So that was the strategy he stuck with. And I would say 80% of the conference knew it was a losing strategy. But that small group would not let us get to 218. And if you cannot get to 218, you cannot pass something in the House. And eventually what happened? It failed. And you know whose votes we had to get? Democrats. Because night before last, we had one last push after 3 weeks of shutdown and disaster for the party, and we couldn't even get 218 then. Couldn't get 218. Some said it's too soft. Some said it's too hard. Some said we don't get enough. We get too, whatever. Whatever. They wouldn't vote. They wouldn't go with the play the quarterback was calling. So they couldn't get to 218. So what did we end up having to do? Take the Republican plan from the Senate. Now remember, it wasn't a Democrat plan from the Senate. It was a bipartisan plan, which puts more pressure, because then the Republican Senate's against you, the Democrat Senate's against you, the Democrats in the House are against you, the President's against you. So you're alone on an island. The government shut down. I got 700,000 constituents, and I'm hearing from a bunch of them, probably more than you're hearing, from letters and emails, and they're not happy. Mm-hmm. And that's who I work for. And then and then the debt ceiling makes people who know economics and markets jittery, and so you weren't getting, Republicans in the House couldn't pass it on our own, whatever it was. So this is what happened. Senate had to find a deal. So they sent it over and said, here you go. So that's the long, winding road in a nutshell of how we ended up here. You may ask yourself, how in the world did you end up going down a path when you knew it was the wrong way? Because a whole bunch of people wouldn't admit it was the wrong way. What about now? Some of them still don't know the stove's hot, even though their hand's on fire.
What about constituents? I mean, would you?
What about constituents? I have 700,000 constituents, and I hear from them. Have you been taking 1,000 phone calls from constituents and logging what their opinion is? I'll tell you about constituents. I'd say 85% of my district agree, or 70% of my, or 65% of my district agree that Obamacare is a disaster. But about 80 or 90% also agree that this strategy was a loser.
Okay, that's fine. It seemed like to me that there were a lot of constituents that wanted to defund Obamacare, and that was going across the country. But that's not the case.
They did, absolutely. And you know what our polling showed before nationally? This is very enlightening. Our polling, we had a polling brief early about there was some polling done about 3 weeks before the shutdown, and the polling showed, do you believe, basically, I'm summarizing, do you believe Obamacare is a disaster and you want to see it gone, something like that? 65% yes. Do you want the government to shut down as the way to get there? 65-70% no.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about the goal. I agree with you on the goal. We can't confuse principles with tactics.
Okay.
I agree on the goal. The question is, did we accomplish it? Were we going to accomplish it this way? No. No, we were not. So, some people want to go road X to a destination. Some people want to go road Y. They both want to get to the destination.
Right.
One might be a smarter route.
Question for you.
I'll be frank with you. If you don't win elections, you cannot make change on a big scale. Why? The Constitution set it up that way. And if you're going to, you better win the opinion of the American people and Arkansans.
Question for you, Tim. When we walk back up,
Yep.
we catch back up to this can in January or February, whenever it happens.
Yep.
What happens then?
I got to get on another radio, but go ahead.
What happens when we get back to the can in January or February? What happens then?
Good question. Question is, what happens to the people that wanted this strategy this time? Do they have a different approach? I don't know. We'll see.
Was it illegal with the Senate going first on this spending bill, or was it unconstitutional for the Senate?
No, because you're talking about the origination clause. No, they stripped some stuff off another deal and sent it back.
We appreciate you. I know you got to go.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Hang in there. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Tim.